Hey there, I'm Frank Mitchell. On this channel, it's all about helping you understand your car and keeping it running the way it should. Whether it's routine maintenance or solving those tricky problems, I've got you covered. If you find this useful, give the video a like, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to watch till the end. You might learn something that saves you time and money. All right, let's get started.
Electric hybridization is a solution developed in the late 90s, popularized during the first decade of the 21st century and widely extended in the automotive industry in recent years. Its mission is to increase the efficiency of a car with a combustion engine thanks to the support of a small electric motor and a battery, which make it possible to store part of the energy that is generally lost as heat through the brakes and use it at specific times to reduce fuel consumption. This is basically how a hybrid car works. There are three types of hybridization, depending on the size of the battery and the capacity of the electric motor to move the car or not. Some have the advantages of the DGT ECO label and others the zero label, with different arguments for choosing which car to buy. Microhybrids, MHEV, non-plug-in hybrids, HEV, plug-in hybrids, PHEV. Most hybrids have a combination of gasoline engine and electric motor, although some manufacturers such as Mercedes-Benz have diesel plug-in hybrid versions, and microhybridization has also become popular with this type of engine. Advantages of hybrid cars. Not all driving conditions are advantageous for hybrid cars, but there are some in which they are particularly efficient because the circumstances in which the battery's electrical energy is harnessed are more frequent, starts and low-speed driving. This is when they are particularly interesting for shaving a few tenths of a second off the consumption in the trip computer. Combustion engines consume less when they run at constant revolutions and only have to maintain the car's inertia, which occurs when a cruising speed is reached, mainly on the highway. Although hybrid cars must also constantly accelerate and stop their mass, they use electricity as fuel and at the same time are able to recover most of the energy from acceleration. One of the advantages of electric motors is that they can reverse their operation, so when they are no longer needed to gain speed, they are prepared to change their operation and if necessary start braking the vehicle while generating electricity. This leaves us with a system that allows in many cases to dispense with combustion engines, or at least not to do so at times when they would have higher consumption accelerations. On the other hand, although this means lower savings, other elements such as brake pads and discs also have less wear. Advantage 1. Urban circulation. When driving in the city there are multiple elements that prevent us from maintaining a constant speed, such as traffic lights, crosswalks, roadworks or unexpected braking by other drivers due to traffic. These situations are not very efficient in physical thermals, since we must be constantly applying forces to stop and accelerate our vehicle, which translates into brake wear and increased fuel consumption. Combustion engines are particularly inefficient when accelerating to move a car from a standstill. For example, when resuming after stopping at a traffic light. At that instant, the ratio between what they consume and what they move the car is very unfavorable. This is where hybridization is the driver's best ally, because the small electric motor supports the heat engine. In plug-in and non-plug-in hybrids, if the driver does not press the accelerator fully, or almost, to demand full power when starting, the heat engine remains off and the first few meters the car moves forward electrically, without wasting fuel. In the case of plug-in cars, it is sometimes possible to drive in this way at speeds of over 120 km per hour. In the case of microhybrids, although the electric motor cannot move the car by itself, it does provide support to reduce fuel consumption in those moments. Advantage 2. Smooth road travel at a gentle pace. Hybrid cars also have advantages in these driving conditions. This is because, when driving at a sustained pace and moderate speed, around 90 km per hour, as is usually the case on a two-way road that does not have a complicated orography, there are many moments in which the driver can adapt his speed if he is foresight without hardly touching the brake, just letting the car move forward by inertia and the retention of the engine slows it down sufficiently at the entrance of the curves. Thus, During phases of smooth acceleration, the combustion engine is supported by the electric part and consumption decreases substantially compared to that of a car without hybridization. In addition, to maintain a moderate pace, relatively little power is needed since it grows exponentially with speed, i.e., to drive at 120 km per hour does not require twice as much power as at 60 km per hour, but 4 times as much, so it is easy for the combustion engine to be switched off at specific times and the electric power is sufficient to drive some stretches of the route. Advantage 3. Access to low-emission zones in addition to achieving fuel savings, reducing or eliminating emissions and mitigating the wear and tear of some mechanical elements. Hybrid cars obtain more favorable environmental labels from the DGT. In the case of plug-in hybrids, PHEV, we will obtain the zero label as long as it exceeds 40 km of autonomy in 100% electric mode. Conventional hybrids or self-recharging hybrids, HEV, get the ECO label from the DGT. These two labels offer several advantages, especially in the city, as they guarantee access to restricted areas such as the low-emission zones in Madrid or Barcelona. They also offer discounts in regulated parking zones, parking lots, or even on road and registration taxes. Disadvantages of hybrid cars. There are certain driver profiles for whom a hybrid car is not economically interesting. There are especially those who use the car for long trips on the highway, at high speed, or with the car loaded or on winding roads with many changes of pace. They are also not a recommended recipe for those who are looking for performance over consumption and a forceful response to the accelerator or performance at all costs. Disadvantage 1. Traveling on highways or with a loaded car. These circumstances have something in common: they require more constant power than when driving on the road or permanent acceleration demands. None of these conditions is ideal for a hybrid engine, because most of the power always comes from the heat engine and the electric part loses almost all of its prevalence, as it does not have sufficient capacity to maintain speed and generate the acceleration required. Although depending on the level of hybridization, two particular cases must be separated that have opposite results. Microhybrids have the advantage that the electric support is permanent and does not move the car, so it does help to reduce consumption on trips. Plug-in hybrids are terrible in terms of fuel consumption once the battery is depleted, which is usually, in the best of cases, after the first 40, 50, or 80 kilometers. From that moment on, fuel consumption is significantly higher than that of a thermal equivalent without hybridization and, in addition, the range is reduced due to the smaller size of the tank and performance is diminished. Disadvantage 2. Pulling a trailer. A situation similar to that cited in the first disadvantage occurs. Pulling a trailer with a car requires using more power at all times to move the car plus its added weight, and the electric advantage is blurred. Therefore, if you plan to use a trailer frequently and are considering a hybrid, you might want to consider a diesel candidate, which is the best engine to take advantage of the power available at low and medium revs and the almost unchanging low fuel consumption. Disadvantage 3. Greater technical complexity and possible breakdowns in the long term. This point must be qualified. It is not necessarily the case that greater technical complexity leads to more breakdowns, but it is true that once the electrical system begins to suffer the effects of battery degradation, repairs are usually costly because the simple fact of having to replace the battery is already a large outlay. On the other hand, the rest of the mechanical elements are usually quite robust because the thermal engines with which they are usually associated are relatively simple at the mechanical level. In conclusion, hybrid cars present a compelling option for those seeking to balance fuel efficiency and environmental responsibility. With advantages such as reduced emissions, improved fuel economy, and potential cost savings on fuel, they offer a practical solution for many drivers. However, it's essential to consider the disadvantages, including higher initial costs, potential maintenance challenges, and limited electric-only range. Ultimately, the decision to choose a hybrid vehicle should be based on individual needs, driving habits, and environmental priorities. Thank you for watching, and we hope this discussion has helped you better understand the pros and cons of hybrid cars.